With the Baseball Bash for May 9th, 2025. Andy Isko, Jim Feist from Las Vegas. Having a good year so far, Andy. It's been a good run. I think 14-3 in my last, or 14-4, or 14-3 in my last 18 games in baseball. It's been good. So we got to keep it going. The Baseball Bash is the whole channel, ProlineTV.com, YouTube, Proline TV. Go there, like it, subscribe, hit the bell, make sure you get the notices. It's good stuff. We had the Kentucky Derby winner. We had the NCAA winner. I mean, this NASCAR, everything. I mean, golf, it's been good.
Yeah.
It's been real good. And the nice thing about it is it doesn't cost anything. It's all free.
Yeah. Now we get to do this again every day to make money betting sports. It's a great thing to combine profit-making opportunities with things that you love, passions that we have.
Yeah, we've been doing this a long time, both of us. It's what the hell happened to our lives?
Yeah, where did it all go? I'm talking about the time, not the money. The time. Where's the time gone?
You're right. You're right.
The money gets reinvested. We know where that goes.
It does. We know that. So let me share this screen here. Bring this up, and then we bring that up there. So it should be okay. Share screen. I'm gonna get my shit together here. Okay, there you go. Share. There it goes. And
there we go.
There he is. Okay, I got it going on. So here we go. We got a card, not a card that I absolutely love a lot, but there's some spots in here, and we did a little conversation about it before we started this. But
by the way, Jim, a good subject to maybe throw in here is how you start the day. For example, when I start looking at a baseball card, I basically look at every game initially, get like a cursory review. And let's say there are 15 games today, and I'll probably end up with maybe 8 to 10 of them that I want to do a deep dive on, and maybe 5 to 7 of them that I say, no, I have no interest in it. It's just a matchup that I don't want to dig into because there's too much uncertainty, one bad pitcher, one good pitcher, something like that. And so that allows me to narrow things down, but at least having had some sort of ability to take a look at each game on the card before really looking into it into a little bit more depth. So sort of narrow things down.
Well, I think we all do some first of all, I look at the numbers. When the numbers are too high, I'm not going to play the favorite at minus 220 or minus 190. But then I have to look at it from, okay, are there things in here I can play the first 5? Can I play a run line? Can I look at the underdog? Because sometimes you can get some live dogs, like I did the other day with the Giants. You get picked up by 135, 140.
That was the one with Robbie Ray, right? And they were getting like about 135, 140. I forget who the pitcher was for, but I was surprised at that line. That was
it was just too high.
Going up against Brown of Chicago's so-so pitcher. It just seemed, especially the way San Francisco's were playing. And Robbie Ray, who started struggling early, has fallen into form, much like one of the pitchers we'll talk about at some point during this podcast.
Well, that happens. When you get the cold weather and they're playing in the East Coast and they're getting all kinds of cold 30s, 40s, wind, all kinds of stuff. And these pitchers don't necessarily – well, first of all, they don't – spring training isn't played in those kind of conditions, so they're not used to it. And the ball doesn't react as well. The pitches that you're throwing don't react as well. I mean, it's the beginning of the season. Now you're getting into May and June and July. You're getting into hot weather. And the hot weather really changes everything versus, the cold springs and stuff. And boy, that's a whole different issue. So what games you see down there that you're really interested in talking about?
Well, I just mentioned one of the pitchers. It's actually towards the end. It's in the interleague, and that's Philadelphia at Cleveland with Aaron Nola going up against Williams of Cleveland. And Aaron Nola started off the season really getting hit hard. He's okay with his walks and strikeouts and all that, but he was giving up runs. And his last 2 starts have been by far his best starts of the season. I think one of them was a 6-inning and one was a 7-inning effort where he didn't give any earned runs. So he's in really good form that we've been accustomed. Because I was going against him early in the season, and then when he started to show the improvement that he's currently showing, I've been on him the last two starts, and I think that this is a situation tonight. For example, let me just go take a look at what Nola has done in his last two games. May 3rd, which was what that would have been Saturday, at home against Arizona. They pitched 6 scoreless innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. And the effort before that was the 27th at the Cubs, went 7 innings, gave up 1 run. It was earned, 3 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Prior to that, he had given up 4, 7, 2, and 3 runs. And 6 runs in his previous 6 starts, all of which they lost. In fact, I think his starts now are 2-6 on the season, and both wins have been sterling efforts, and those have been both of his last 2 starts. The opening line I saw was Cleveland going up against Williams -116.
Yeah,
and I have to believe doing right now that it had to have gone up a little bit.
And Philadelphia,
about 120.
Williams in his last 12 innings, 6 ERA, 2.43 WHIP.
Yeah.
He struck out 19 in 12 innings, which is good. But the problem here is Cleveland's been playing very well, so it's a tough spot to lay the favorite. But pitching matchup definitely favors Nola.
Well, Philadelphia's also been playing very well. They had a little bit of a slump following a very hot start, but they seem to have gotten things back together. So I think when you look at the lineup, Cleveland does have some decent offensive threats, but I think Philadelphia has more of them, probably going 6 deep.
Oh, totally. But now this is interesting because it's kind of like a little bit of a class. You look at this and you have pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah.
Let's look at the bullpens. Let's go there. Let's see. What do you see in the bullpens for Philly and Cleveland?
I don't have that screen up right now, but I do know that Cleveland has a very good bullpen and Philadelphia's has improved.
Yeah. This is you can't get too excited about what Williams has done in the last 12 innings. It's been pretty nasty. But they are playing well, decent bullpen. Cleveland's last 5 games have gone over the total, which is kind of surprising for them. But
I think the last 3 games were against Washington, which does not have great pitching.
That does help. Any other games in here that you?
By the way, if we're concerned about the bullpens, Nola -120 for the first 5 innings.
You're right. That's actually.
And he's gone 6 or 7 innings his last few starts, and even though the times when he's been hit has gone longer. Yeah.
Excellent point. Great. Glad we talked about that. That's a perfect situation.
Yeah, because when I play 5 innings, I rarely play a side. This is one of those situations that I would be, simply because you're going up against a pitcher that's struggling, and a pitcher who could probably give you 6 or 7 innings, so he's likely to be effective for the first 5. And then the bullpen, which is always uncertain, although they did have yesterday off. No, I'm sorry, they played at Tampa Bay last night, so they haven't had a full day of rest for a while. I think it takes the uncertainty bullpen factor out of it.
Excellent point. It's actually
that I think will be the way I'm going in this one now.
I think that's excellent that you brought that up. That just shows, and people listening, that's how you break things down. It's not always just jumps off the page at you. Sometimes you have to dig. How about this guy Brown pitching for Houston?
That's the other one I'm looking at.
Against Martinez. Now, I can't knock. I mean, this is an interesting game to look at, and I'm looking off to the side because I've got 16 screens here, so I can't have them all up in front of you. But Brown in his last 19 innings, 189 ERA, 0.95 WHIP, and he's struck out 27 in 19 innings, which is incredible. That's really good. But Martinez, in his last 17 innings, a 2.12 ERA, 102 WHIP, which is very excellent. I mean, they're almost identical numbers. Not as many strikeouts. Brown, I mean, this isn't the Houston of years ago. They're going to the Super Bowl, or Super Bowl, but World Series, kind of a World Series.
Pitching is not as deep, and the offense is not as potent.
Correct. But how do you break this one down? Because you got two pitchers that are very capable of making doing some damage today.
Well, Brown has been consistent all year. If I take a look, I'll take a look at.
The overall's better, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even the overall, just the game by game. 6 innings, 6 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. He's gone at least 6 innings in all 7 of his starts. Hunter Brown has. Runs allowed. He's not given up more than 3 runs in any of those 7 efforts. Hits. He's given up 5 hits or less in 6 of the 7 starts where he's gone at least 6 innings, and 7 hits in the other. And in that game where he gave up 7 hits at Kansas City, he only gave up 1 run. And you look at his walks to strikeout, he's only walked 3 in those 7 innings, 6 innings, twice. He's struck out at least 9 in 3 straight games. In fact, it's 9 strikeouts, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk in his last 3 starts, 2 of which have been on the road. Now he's back home, and he's pitched well at home as well. So he's been extremely consistent. I think a lot of people, when they start taking a look at Cy Young Award candidates in the National League, Hunter Brown is in the conversation.
Here's the problem. Do you want to lay 175 with him?
No. And I'm not sure I want to lay the run line, so I want to see if there is another huge favorite to parlay him with the straight, and that might be San Diego because they're playing at Colorado.
How about
huge
the first
favorite?
5? What do you think about the first 5 under?
Let me see what that is. What's the total in the game? The total in the game is 7.5. So, if it's 3.5, I might consider. I just don't trust Cincinnati all that much. This is a team that got shut out 1-0, 3 straight games. And then I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, where I mentioned the statistic for Cincinnati on the season when you take a look at the runs differential. And for Cincinnati, their run differential is plus 29, 185 scored, 156 allowed. So they're plus 29. 24 runs came in 1 game.
So let's remove that and what the number would be.
Oh, yeah. As far as what the number is in the total for the first 5 innings in that game, the total is 7.5 for the game. For the first 5 innings, it is it's actually higher than I would look at it. I might play the under in the first 5 innings at 4. I do not like at 3.5 is kind of like my limit for playing under, because at 3, if you play under 3, you get a push at 3. If you play under 3.5, you can still win at 3. And it takes 4 to beat you. So you're talking about basically less than 1 run per inning. And as long as the other thing I want to take a look at when a pitcher like these, and I'll see if I can pull it up, how many home runs these guys allow. Because if you don't allow a lot of home runs, it's less likely you're going to have a big inning, where you give up 3 runs on one pitch, and that hurts you in the first 5 innings of a game.
I see that number for the last 3 games. Neither one of them have given up a home run in the last 3 games. But on the season, I don't have the number here. But
last 3 games is a good indication that he's at least pitching in good form, that his pitching is working, especially with the other secondary numbers that he's putting up.
I mean, if you can I think under 4 is actually a bet.
Yeah, let me see what the VIG is on that.
Unless 4. It's too high, yeah.
No, I'm showing 4 flat.
I got to play.
In fact, I'm showing at one of the places that usually does not have great lines. Actually, there's a favorable line, although the spread will make up. William Hill uses like a 20-cent line, and they're 4 over minus 15. But you might pay the same by playing under 4 at other books where they have a less of a spread on the line.
That's a good find.
Actually, the major offshore plays, I guess Pinnacle would still be considered. They're actually, they do it a little. They're 4.5 under minus 44. I'd rather play the under 4.
Laying 44 is a big price. It's not a terrible price, but it's a big price.
No, but I'd rather lay minus 10 and accept the push at 4 than lay 44 and risk a loss.
Since we're talking about over and unders, the Cubs and the Mets. You got, I think it's Talon, something like that.
Talon against Holmes.
I mean, these guys are they're cooking right now.
They're in good form. They're also 4, by the way, for the first 4 innings.
I mean, I have to look at that game going under. I don't see a lot of runs in that game, at least early. You might get into the bullpens and get them, but you go first 5. I don't know.
The only thing is, one of the things I like to look at on an overall team basis is runs differential, like I just mentioned with Cincinnati. Well, Cubs and Mets are amongst the top 5 teams in run differential for the season, meaning that their offense is producing as well as they're getting pretty decent pitching. But when you see the numbers that they're putting up as far as the differential, in fact, let me call that up here. The Mets are plus 59, 181 to 122, which basically suggests it's great pitching, because I think 122 is about as low as any team in baseball. The Cubs, they've scored 181, but the Cubs have scored 223. They're plus 58, so they're almost identical as far as the differential goes, but the Mets are doing it by limiting runs against them. The Cubs are doing it by scoring runs for them, and neither Holmes nor Talon's more experienced, but I would say that neither of them are considered probably a number 1 or a number 2 on their staffs.
Right. Like we started this podcast off saying we didn't love the card, but we're finding
isolated gems.
The thing about betting sports these days, and it really comes down to the DraftKings and the FanDuels and all these other places that came in and started getting innovative about bookmaking, but
propositions.
Vegas was kind of stuck in the mud because we didn't have competition, and we did it the same way over and over and over again. And now we've added we're starting to add a lot more things that you can, how do you pick apart a game? I mean, player props, things like that. But now we're looking at first 5s, which wasn't available years ago. And we're looking at first 5 over and unders, which wasn't available years ago. And
also, by the way, years ago, pitchers went 7, 8 innings routinely. Now they're getting pulled after 5 or 6 innings. So we have, when pitchers are averaging 5 to 6 innings, you're basically looking at their overall season performance for the first 5 innings.
Correct.
In many cases.
Yeah, it's a whole different world. So I mean, we got some good plays there. I think we picked out a couple of good spots. I'm trying to look here, see if there's anything that sticks out to me that I mean. We got to look at. I mean, you can't ignore Seattle. They're playing good ball, and they're playing Toronto. Toronto's no muffin. I mean, they got a Guzman when he's right, he's tough, and he's
been very effective this year.
Pardon?
He's been very effective this year, Gausman.
And there's
Baltimore.
It's Toronto. They're crossing over from Canada into the United States to play up in the north. And Castillo's last 17 innings, 2.12, 1.25, 2.4 whip, and it's pretty much equal. But the ERA for Guzman's a little high at 6.43. I don't know what the xFIP is. Maybe.
That's I think something taking fielding into account, which I think is always subjective when you're coming up with fielding, because you've got to determine what range is, and there are ways of doing it, but it's sort of like a mix of actual results and certain assumptions that go into determining the parameters that are being used for that statistic. I think it's called fielding independent.
Yeah, someday maybe we can do a podcast on explaining what all these new metrics are,
new analytics are.
I'm sure you have a better handle on it because you're so good with math.
And the other thing with fielding independent is it basically takes in the defense behind you, which is basically behind all the pitchers on the staff. I guess certain pitchers who pitch a certain way may be more benefited by the defense. But again, it's hard to really judge because it's not a pure statistic as opposed to, let's say, strikeouts, which is, what a strikeout is. There's no, you can determine between swinging strikes and called strikes and close strikes and what the count is, but those are pure statistics as opposed to something that's a little bit, I'm not going to say contrived because there's a lot of logic behind it, but it still involves assumptions.
A very simple stat that we never talk about really is ground ball pitchers versus high ball pitchers. I mean, if you're going to throw the ball up in the strike zone and it's a little easier to get it out of the ballpark if you can get the wood on it. But the ground ball pitcher depends on his infielders a lot because the ball's on the ground. Now you double play balls and stuff like that. there's a lot of things. And of course, then you combine that with the strikeout rates and the
That's an important one that I look at. The two things I look at for pitchers, ERA is nice, but again, there's a lot of misleading things in there because that's what I think we talked about in the earlier show this week. That a pitcher could get in a jam and his ERA is affected if the bullpen comes in and doesn't do its job and gives up the runs that will be charged to the pitcher. I like what the pitcher does. So the WHIP, which are walks and hits per innings pitched, and just as importantly, and you bring this up a lot, Jim, strikeout to walk ratio.
Look at Skubal today. I mean, this is a big price, but Skubal has struck out 23 batters in 17 innings. Now he's got an ERA and his WHIP is really good, but you're going against Corbin, who's not bad. His ERA is not bad, but his WHIP is a little bit high at 1.57. This is a game. What's the price on
and Texas, by the way, is not hitting
that price
right
on
now.
Detroit's got to be pretty high, right?
Let me take a look on the full game. The Tigers are minus 260, minus 260, minus 255 on the run line. And here again, you've got an outstanding pitcher. He won the Cy Young Award last year and deserved it in the American League. And he's going up a team that's having some difficulty as far as the offense is concerned. He's actually only minus 20, laying the run and a half for the full game, laying a half run for the first 5 for Detroit. For Skubal is here's they're laying a half run for the first 5 innings. He's up to minus 50. That looks wrong because I'm showing. I think Circa has a wrong number on that one because they're showing plus 25 on the minus. Oh, they do minus 1.5 for the first 3 innings. Okay, that's why it's plus 20, but it's minus 50 just to lay the half run for the first.
I could lay the 1.5. I could lay the 1.5 for the game with him. That's not terrible. But the problem with this is, and this is another thing we should talk about, when you expect the home team to be ahead, they're not going to bat in the bottom of the 9th, which means you're laying 1.5 in 8 innings. So
you still had eight innings to display your advantages over the opposition, and that's why you get a better number when you lay the 1.5 for a home team than you do for the road team because of that. How important is it? And I mean, in theory, okay, and again, this is in theory, it doesn't always work this way, but in theory, if you're up by 2 runs in the 9th inning, you're going to bring your closer in for the top of the 9th. And if he does his job, you're going to cover the 1.5. If it's a 1-run game, well, then you have to hope for the visiting team to tie it up and for you to get the 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th. But you're basically going to be relying on your closer to shut the door if you're up by 2 or 3, or certainly 1. Yeah.
So you're laying a 1.5 and you're laying three at bats, 3 outs as well.
Yeah, well, and that's compensated for in the price. So, you're laying the 1.5 for the first 5 innings. You're laying 50 for the. I think that's for the half a run, and you're laying minus 121.5 for the full game. And Skubal, let me see what he's done as far as because I think he's pitched deep into a lot of his games. He's pitched 40 innings already this year, which is a lot for just 6 starts. So. Or 6 or 7 starts. He's for some reason it doesn't want to show me right now. I'll try getting it a different way, but unfortunately it's not showing up right now. But he's generally been able to average 5-6 innings, maybe a little bit more on his starts this year. So, and he's going up again against an offense that struggled. So they probably, if you play the first 5 innings, you probably don't see the lineup more than twice. Because he doesn't allow a lot of guys on base. Here it is. He's pitched 6 innings, 5 innings, 7 innings, 6 innings, 5 innings, 5.2 and 5 innings. His first 2 starts were shaky. He gave up 4 and 3 runs in 5 and 2/3 innings. Since then, 0 and 6, 0 and 7, 2 and 5, 0 and 6, 1 and 6. And now he's facing a team that's been struggling at the plate. In fact, let me just call up what their season record is as far as Texas, because I know they're in a slump right now. They've played 38 games and they've scored 123 runs, which is about 3 runs per game. Little over 3 runs per game.
Not the offensive output you normally see from the Rangers. No.
Right, and not the kind of offense you want to see when you're going up against a defending American League Cy Young Award winner who's in great shape over his last 4 games, giving up, I think, 1 or 2 earned runs at most.
I think at the price it's worth laying the 1.5.
I think so.
It's not a terrible price.
That will be that if you're laying minus 22, and you've got a significant pitching matchup, and you've got a significant offense matchup, because Detroit, I think right now, actually, with their explosion against the Angels the last couple of nights, is actually leading the majors in run differential. I think there's something like plus 93 runs.
Excellent. Andy, I think that pretty much does it for today. We'll be back Monday. We're going to bring new sport into the picture on Monday. We're going to talk about WNBA. Of course, we're going to be doing our basketball and our baseball.
And by the way, one thing that's important to let people know about the WNBA, it's a new league. It's obviously targeted towards the women fans in the audience, although a lot of guys are following it as well. One thing to keep in mind, especially over the summer, they play a lot of daytime games in the WNBA. Games that will start at like 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So it's not like Major League Baseball or the other sports where, at least during the week, they play only at night.
Good point. And there's a lot of new players that have come in the league. The biggest name, of course, is Paige Breckers playing for Dallas. You still have Caitlin Clark with the Fever. They have a new coach. They got new additions to that team as well.
And you've got the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry, which is something that you don't see very often in the women's game.
Whether that's real or made up because the media likes to sell it, I don't know.
I don't know, but it's entertaining.
It definitely is entertaining. But anyway, we'll be back on Monday. We're going to be, I don't know how many shows we'll do on Monday, but we'll definitely be doing WNBA. We'll be covering the basketball, and maybe we'll put baseball off to Tuesday. I'm not sure. But Andy and I will figure that over the weekend.
Yeah, Andy, good luck. Monday's usually a short baseball schedule. I don't know if it is this Monday, but Tuesday are really when everybody's in action.
Okay. This time I'm going to actually end the recording properly. The first one, I'm not sure that I did that. But anyway, have a good weekend, everybody.
Let's wish everybody the best of luck, including ourselves.
That's true.